The law of cause and effect is probably one of my most favorite laws in the multiple laws of the universe. However, this breakthrough with the law of cause and effect has radically changed my mindset, how I operate, and every way I show up in every area of my life and business right now. So stay tuned. We're going to dive in deep. Welcome to the Crown Yourself podcast, where together we build your empire and transform your subconscious stories about what's possible for your business, body, and life. I'm your host, Kimberly Spencer, founder of CrownYourself.com, and I'm a master mindset coach, best-selling author, TEDx speaker, known to my clients as a game changer. Each week, you get the conscious leadership strategies you need to help you reign with courage, clarity, and confidence so that you too can make the income and impact you deserve. Imagine this podcast as your royal invitation to step into your full potential and reign in your divine purpose. Your sovereignty starts here, and your reign is now. Hello and welcome back to the Crown Yourself podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Spencer, master mindset coach and founder of CrownYourself.com. And I am so honored to be here with you today with such a big breakthrough. So if you've been listening to this podcast for a hot minute, y'all know the law of cause and effect of speaking about taking ownership, it's our core value when it comes to crown yourself. That's literally the core value of our business is radical 100% ownership. And the law of cause and effect is deeply intertwined with that because to take ownership means you have to be at cause for your life. You have to consider yourself instead of on the effect side of the equation, which is more the victim mindset sort of the equation. And like I always say, there is a massive difference between having a victim mindset and being a victim of an experience. Very different. I've dove into that in multiple different episodes, so I will link to a few in the show notes so that you can reference back if you're like, ooh, I don't like the term victim, or if you feel triggered in any way. Just cool your jets. So there is the effect side of the equation, which is typically the victim mindset. You're stuck in the drama triangle where you are at the effect side, you're reacting, you're in reaction mode. It's very easy on the effect side to be in fight, flight, freeze. It's very easy on the effect side to be saying things like, I can't, or you don't understand my circumstances, you don't understand how I grew up, and da-da-da-da. There's lots of reasons and excuses and self-limiting beliefs on the effect side. On the cause side, there is creation. There is ownership. And yes, ownership, like I've said many different times, is not the sexiest conversation to have, especially when you just ate it. When you failed, when you messed up, when you fucked up, when you things didn't go your way and you're like, oh, I am owning my results. I am owning that I am the cause. I am the creator. Now, ownership, and I've said this before, it does not connote being the villain. So in the drama triangle, there is also the villain side of the equation where instead of nothing being your fault, which is very much the effect, it's everything is my fault, including unforeseen circumstances, including other people's behavior, including all the things outside of our control that is outside of the realm of our control. So just because you put yourself at cause and take ownership for your results doesn't mean that everything is going to go exactly as you planned, because welcome to life. But putting yourself at cause does allow you to see through the lens of ownership, where you're able to see, oh my gosh, that didn't go okay according to what I thought was going to happen. So what do I need to learn from this? What is the data, the feedback of this world giving me? What do I need to learn from this? What do I need to take from this? How do I need to grow from this? What you want, or you get the lesson you need. And so if you get what you want, you're like, ooh, conscious creator, snaps. It's all manifestation all day long. And that feels great. And there's also welcome to life, that there's causality where things didn't go exactly as you planned, but you still take ownership of the results that you got, and you put yourself in the driver's seat for how can I make the changes that need to be made. So for example, when we launched our second business, Communication Queens, it was not out of intending to launch a second business right after having a second child. No. It came from failure. It came from things not going my way. I had 2 failed launches of a course, and I just found people. When I polled my audience, I said, I'm going to put myself at cause, what happened? People in my community, you all know, like, I deliver, I will show up, I will, the content, the formula, the systems, the strategy, like, it will be there. And when we polled our audience, and it was like, because again, putting yourself at cause, we said, okay, well, that didn't work. So why? And who better to ask than the people who didn't buy? So we asked, and they said, well, we don't really want to learn how to do it. Like, we don't want to learn how to do it. We want it done, but we don't want to learn how to do it. And I was like, okay, we could do it for you. So that is what we created the agency from. It was from the fact that the data, it was because we took ownership of the results of a failed launch after a success, like 2 successful launches. So we had 2 successful launches and we had 2 failed launches. And it was after the 2 failures that I was like, okay, why aren't people buying this in our community? And it was because they just wanted a done for you service. So we created one and thus birthed the second business. Ta-da! That's the power of being at cause. And what blew my mind recently, though, with the cause and effect equation, is that there is a belief, a mental image, a picture that I have had in my mind of cause, then effect, right? It kind of like just cause and effect. Like it connotes, at least in my mind, a sequence of events. Here's the thing that just blew my mind. I was reading Power versus Force, Dr. David Hawkins' book, which is amazing. It's incredibly heady. Like it dives deep into the realm of consciousness, the emotional scale of vibration, understanding your emotions. And just by reading it, you will feel elevated with new ideas just flowing in. And it was as I was reading, and I'm going to read to you the exact words because it blew my mind, to have this paradigm of the perception that cause and effect was a sequence. Like, if I do this, then this happens, right? Think of it like a computer program, like it's ChatGPT. Like, if I do this, then this happens. The thing is that what if it's not an if then? What if it's not cause, then effect? What if it's both? And this is what the beginning of the breakthrough came from. In the book, Dr. David Hawkins writes, causality occurs as simultaneity rather than as sequence. Synchronicity is the term used by Dr. Carl Jung to explain this phenomenon in human experience. So, as we understand from our examination of advanced physics, an event here in the universe does not cause an event there, i.e. an effect, in the universe. Instead, both appear simultaneously, and the sequence is that of observation itself. So it's not, this is where perception is projection comes in. So the sequence and belief that there is a sequence, that if I do this, then I get that, is actually incorrect. Like, that's very Newtonian logic versus quantum theory and quantum physics, and I've heard of the double slit experiment. I've seen the double slit experiment. I have studied and learned, and it's like, oh, quantum mechanics in the quantum field. But damn, when I read it from this perspective, I was like, it is not, like, I'm literally speechless. I'm like finding words because I'm still having my moment with this. And it really was, the cause and effect are happening at the same time. Now, you could be thinking, all of this is well and good, information, ta-da, la-di-da. What do I do with it? This is what you do with it. So when we change the variable of the cause, right, you want to achieve a certain goal, and that version of you who has, does, and is already achieving, doing, having that goal is somewhere in the quantum realm. Is somewhere out there. If you can dream it, it's already available to you right now. Now you may be thinking, but I want to have $1 million year and I have like $46 in my bank account. So you're like, where's the disconnect? Here's the thing. So how this applies is you start thinking of the causes that cause that $1 million year. You allow yourself to imagine, tap into, dream up who is the person, that version of you, who is already there, who has already done the thing, who already has the thing, who's on the other side of that thing that at this moment, probably in your present reality, seems really fucking scary. Like, there's probably some things in your life, whether it is, running for office or scaling your business or starting a family or losing the baby weight, whatever it is or healing your relationship with your spouse when you just last week were like, oh, I could leave that man. I could leave that asshole, like those things. There's a version of you who already is on the other side of that. And so that hurdle that you're thinking is going to be so high and hard to climb, there's the version of you who's already on the other side of it isn't looking at that hurdle as hard, challenging, difficult, crazy, etc. They've already done it. It's done. So in the realm of cause and effect, imagine in your mind the effect you want to produce, the effect, whatever that goal is, that dream is that you want to achieve. Imagining in your mind and then really studying your behavior in that moment, like deeply getting detailed. Like, who are you surrounded by? How do you think about that problem that used to be a really big challenge? Like, let's say, for example, a problem in your marriage. Like, if you're on the other side of it and suddenly you're like kissy, kissy, lovey, lovey, like having a great relationship, amazing marriage, how do you feel about those years that you went through that? How do you feel, or those months or those weeks that you struggled and had to navigate those challenging conversations with your spouse? Let's say also, for example, that maybe it's that big financial goal that you want to achieve, right? Well, the version of you who already has it, they don't see that version of money making as big. There's a great example that a mentor of mine from years ago, Amanda Francis, shares about another mentor of mine who I worked with, Katrina Ruth. And Katrina Ruth coached her for a bit at some point in her business, and I forgot when. But I remember the story so vividly because as Amanda, who is known as the Money Queen, she wrote the book Rich as Fuck. Like, she's amazing. She's phenomenal. And Katrina Ruth, also phenomenal, made multiple millions of dollars online, selling courses, just being creative, saying what she wants to out and putting out what she wants to out in the world. She's very much in the flow of just how she operates. Anyways, so she was coaching and Amanda Francis hit this like point of like, oh my gosh, I've made so much money. Like, I think it was like $250,000 or maybe $500,000 or something like that. And she was like, oh my gosh, I've made so much money. Like, how do I sustain it? And she was having all these doubts and feelings and fears. And of course, this is all repeated from her. And Katrina Ruth, I remember her answer so vividly of what Amanda said her answer was, because she was like, you just need to make more money. And she's like, what? She was expecting like some deeply spiritual answer, some answer of like, here are all the beliefs you need to shift in the quest. And no, Katrina Ruth was like, you just need to make more money. She goes, there are people in this world who could not wipe their ass with $250,000 or $500,000, however much it was. Like, they could not even think of subsisting at that much. So the fact that you still think that this is a big level means that there is that perception that there is still a mountain in front of it versus being on the other side of it, right? It was one of my favorite stories that I heard from both of them, having been mentored and worked with both of them. That story was such a game changer because when you look at whatever money goal you have, whether it's sustaining the level of income that you have or growing to a whole new level of income or scaling to a whole new level of income, like whatever money goal you have, the version of you who already is on the other side of achieving that, they think that that's nothing. They're like, oh yeah, I've done that, been there, done that, $1 million, whoop-de-doo, done. Now 25 million, 30 million, 50, let's go. Like, there's always the bridge in our physical world that has already been bridged in the quantum realm. So in the quantum realm, when you set forth that intention, that goal, the effect is already there. Like, this is what the double slit experiment shows. This is the power of cause and effect not being a sequential thing, but being simultaneous. And because it's simultaneous, in that synchronicity of it being simultaneous, the more you connect with that version of you who is on the other side of it, the faster you build that bridge in between the two. Because, like in the book says, both appear simultaneously, and the sequence is that of the observation itself. So your observation of what's possible for you in this physical reality, your observation has to be not from your present circumstances. Why? Because that observation itself slows you down from achieving and receiving and having and doing and being the version of you who's already on the other side. So from the moment you set that intention, from the moment that you have that goal, there is already that version of you who has, does, and is exactly what you want to be, do, and have. That already exists in the quantum realm. And it is your job to bridge the gap. So here is how to start bridging the gap. 1, you start imagining and vividly picturing that version of you. That's 1. Because the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between that which is real, and that, like, real as in presently real in your physical reality, and that which is vividly imagined. That's why movies and TV shows and books and podcasts that have a deeply emotional impact on you, that's why you just want to be aware of what you're consuming, because your unconscious mind cannot tell the difference. So that's why I choose to fill my unconscious mind with stories of possibility, stories from rags to riches, stories of hope, stories of people who are already where I want to be, because that sets in my mind more proof, consistent proof. The second thing, which dovetails off of that first one, is in the observation, since the observation itself is what slows things down. If you're observing things in your physical present realm of what you are currently experiencing today, like, let's say, for example, the example of you want to have your $1 million year and currently you have $46 in your bank account and you're like, how do I do this? So how you do this is you look at how many ways is your $1 million year already happening? How many ways is that version of you? How many ways? How many signs? Carl Jung called them synchronicities. How many of those synchronicities are coming into your world? Maybe you start connecting and going on podcasts with other people who have built $1 million business or whatever size business you want to build. Maybe you start talking. Maybe you start reading some books about people who scaled to their $1 million year, and then suddenly you're like seeing the habits, and suddenly you're surrounded by friends, or suddenly you're in a coffee shop and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm realizing that this coffee shop probably brings in $1 million a year. And so that's probably, if this coffee shop can do it, I probably can too. Like, you noticing those synchronicities is essential to speeding up the process of being on the other side of your goal. So how many ways can you stack the proof that the goal that you want to achieve is already available right now to you in this very moment? How many ways? A great exercise that I did, I remember way back, I was in Australia. It was like 2018, and I was so dead set on having that like prized moment as a coach for the 10K month. Like that's the one of the big markers. Next is 100K, and then the next is like 250K month, and then you go on to having $1 million month, and that's the kind of progression in the coaching world of like how big can you actually get. And so there was an exercise that I was told in some manifestation group, and I was like, I'm going to try this out. I'm going to give this a go. And it was July. I think it was like July or something. And I was writing, and it was a 5 by 55 by 55. And now I'm not saying you have to do this exercise, because the benefit of this exercise, to chunk up for a moment, the benefit of the exercise is to expand your brain to possibility. So what your job is to do is to write 5 times, I think it's like 5 times, you write 55 ways that your goal can happen. So the goal is to expand the realm of possibility, because what keeps most of us from our goals and dreams and big things is we lock in that this is the only best right way that this can happen, which completely strips the divine, God-sourced universe working its magic in your life. Because if you're like, where you think, oh, you lock into that one way, well, good luck if that one way also involves other humans in order for you to achieve the goal. Like, the only way that I'll stay in this marriage is if he changes how he speaks to me. And, good luck. Good luck. But what about a bajillion other different ways? So to God's source universe, there is infinite amount of ways that you can actually achieve, receive, and have your goal. Infinite. Beyond, like infinite. So when we lock in to like, this is the only way, or we can also, if you are really smart, sometimes you can have a few different ways, but still, those are your few different ways that you can achieve your goal. And that's the problem, is when you're really smart, is you lock into those ways and then you strip the divine of being able to work its magic in your life. So this exercise I started doing, and I thought, I think some of the 55 ways that I could have a 10K month were just crazy. Like, some of it was like, I could have an ancestor, like a foreign relative, Venmo me from another country because they found out that I was related and wanted to donate a inheritance. Like, I got really creative. Like, it was creative. Now, yes, the next month, we did have a 10K month. We actually had a 13K month. And I remember in 2018, that was like such a big deal for me to just have that. That was a moment. I was like, I have arrived. And in that moment of having that 13K month, that experience, yes, it did come through a client signing up for a high performance coaching package, which were back then 10K, and from another, other sales that we had coming in. But it was so funny because just being able to do that exercise allows you to break the pattern of how you think that money or health or relationships, quote unquote, should come in or should look in your life. I've seen this with fitness too. The same goal with fitness. I used to have it actually all the time with fitness when I was first started teaching Pilates, like before I really knew anything about manifestation. I just kind of figured it out within my body first. And what I discovered was when I locked myself in, like, I have to work out 4 times a day and this, and that's how I'm going to get to my goal weight. Yeah, good luck. Because what happens is then when you lock in that one way and you double down on your efforts for that one way, the other law, one of the other laws of the universe, the law of reversed effort, kicks in. The subconscious mind does not like to be forced or cajoled or bullied into achieving results. Like, it really is like a kid. So you have to treat your unconscious mind very kindly. And so let it play because it's like a kid. So step number 3, because it's like a kid, let it play. Let it play with different ideas. Let it play with different hows. Now, this doesn't mean go off on a tangent and go create 14 other different companies or sign up for like 30 different direct marketing companies because you think that's the way to achieve your $1 million year. Let's not confuse playing with shiny object syndrome, right? Shiny object syndrome is where you get distracted from your main goal and you think of all these other ways because I have to have something else, obviously, in order to make that income goal or whatever thing happen. Let's not get distracted with shiny object syndrome. So the key is play. So how can you bring more play into the process? So first we have vision. Second, we have stacking the proof of how many ways is what's happening in your life already, how many ways is your goal already showing up in this world? So for example, let's say your goal is weight loss and suddenly you start seeing a lot of skinny, fit women around you in your circle, etc. What cuts people off and basically aborts their dream is when suddenly they see that person who's having that thing and they think, oh, must be good for them. Oh, she must have it really easy. That's all programming. That's all programming. Because suddenly the thing is that when you start seeing it in your reality and you start noticing it, that's a sign. That's a sign that it's getting closer to you. That's a sign to lean in. That's a sign to be like, oh, damn, she looks good. She's fit. She's thin. She's taut. She's toned. If she can, I can too. That's when those moments, that's so often we abort our dreams with our own deep-seated insecurities about who the person is that actually has that dream. So when you start seeing proof show up in your reality because you're training your unconscious mind to notice those things, when you start seeing the proof show up, celebrate it. Like, there's a reason I know I am building a $25 million company. Why? Because I have friends who are in the $25 to $30 million range, and they have been showing up like crazy in my life right now. It's bananas. Or as I said to my husband, bananas. It's so bananas, it's gone British. And every time I see it, every time they show up in my reality, I'm like, yeah, if she can, I can too. Okay, let's learn from her. How does she think about her problems? How does she approach her day at a $25 million level? Like, the same is true with weight. The same is true with relationships. If you want to set a goal for having an amazing relationship with your partner, and it's not so great right now, and you start seeing other happy, kissy couples, like when you're out and about and you're like, oh, it's good for them. And you give the eye roll and like, ew, PDA. Well, gee, what are you telling your unconscious mind? You're literally telling your unconscious mind in those moments that you don't want that goal because your response is telling it. It's saying having that goal, having that dream is gross. Having that dream is, It's because you're literally rolling your eyes at it. You're literally downplaying other people who have that. I guarantee you success is far better on the other side when you haven't brute forced your goals. Second, it shows up far faster when you understand this. So when you see somebody, I had this, oh my gosh, during COVID, oh my gosh, I saw so many people buying houses. So many people. So many of my friends bought houses. I didn't have a house. I was currently living in an Airbnb, not knowing where my next home was going to be, supporting my family. We weren't planning on buying a house in Australia, but I started to notice a ton of people buying houses. People were moving left and right. And I started to notice that. And I was like, okay, all right. And every time I saw that, I didn't think oh, well, good for them. They're not stuck in a foreign country and can't buy a house. No. Oh, I celebrated that. I was like, oh, yes, queen, get those keys. Oh, yeah. Well, fast forward 2 years later, we have our house. So there is magic that comes when you celebrate others' wins. So you create a space of play and you also operate with celebration for other people who have what you have around you. Why? Because it lets your unconscious mind know that you can, that it's safe, it's okay, it's fun, it's playful to be at that level. So just know that the process of cause and effect is not linear and it's not sequential. It's happening at the same time. And your goal, whatever that goal is currently and presently available to you right now in the quantum realm. The key is that you need to start with who you be. Who are you showing up as? Are you showing up as that version? I highly doubt the version of you who's got that $1 million year, who's got that marriage, who's, built that company, who's doing that thing, is on the other side going, ew, gross. Ew, look at my life. Look at how much money I have. Look at my relationship and how great it is. Ugh. No, you're probably not even caring that it's a big deal. And you're like, okay, this is just how life is. And going about your day and being present with what you have and the responsibilities that you have now at that level and moving forward and acting accordingly. So if there's nothing else that you take from this episode, and we dove into a lot on this as far as how to manifest and how to create your dream reality and how to, really embody that next level version of success in whatever area that you are currently going for. The key though here is to remember the big breakthrough, cause and effect, is not linear. It's not sequential. It happens at the same time. So let that sink in and know that the same time that that dream, that desire, that hope, that seeing a brighter future for yourself in whatever arena, that the moment that was downloaded into you and inseminated into you via God's source universe, it was like, yeah, I'd really like to have that, or I'd really like to receive that, or I'd really like to do that. The moment that landed in your heart and in your soul is the same moment that it became possible for you to achieve that. It's the same moment that another version of you was created who already has it. So how do you need to start showing up and acting as her or him? How do you need to start showing up and acting like it? What does she think? What does she feel now that she's on the other side? How does she even think about the problem? Because she's already solved it. Now, if you're ready to dive deep into this with me, I have 3 openings for coaching in this next quarter. And I would be honored if this episode resonated with you to your core. If you're like, heck yes, how do I get more of that? How do I reframe? How do I visualize? How do I see it before it even is in my reality? What synchronicities do I need to start noticing? How many ways is my dream actually happening already? And you're struggling and you're kind of stuck in your present circumstances and having trouble seeing it. Then I invite you to click the link down below to book your Divine Birthright Consult, where we will look at every single dream that's been placed on your heart, every single dream that you are excited to create, and give you the mindset, the systems, and the strategy that you can actually have to achieve them based on your own subconscious strategy. When I coach my clients, I am not working from like my ego as far as I think you quote unquote should do that. You don't need someone who tells you what you should do in your life and in your business and in how you communicate. You need someone who understands and can see how you do best what you do best, and how to apply that strategy into every area of your life to up-level every single area of your life. This is how my clients go on to fulfill their childhood dreams, to become the number 1 in the world in their industry, to reach their 1-year goals in 3 months, to work with the top luxury brands, and to go from a 20-year career into landing sales for their new business within months. It is possible for you. If they can do it, you can too. And if this is inspiring you to take that next step, best action for you, and you feel called, then I invite you to click the link below. And I will see you in the next episode. As always, own your throne, mind your business, because your reign is now. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If what you heard resonated with you, be sure to subscribe and start creating a bigger impact now by sharing this with a friend. Just by doing that one simple act of kindness, you are creating a royal ripple to support more people in their sovereignty. And if you're not already following on social media, connect with me everywhere at crownyourself.now for more inspiration. I am so excited to connect with you in the next episode. And in the meantime, go out there and create a body, business, and life that rules. Because today, you crown yourself.